Welcome to episode number 63 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeartRadio. This is Esports and Gaming Insider Jason Fanelli with you on a tumultuous Wednesday night here in the Delaware Valley. The rest of that tropical storm Ida came through. I'm recording a night early because we're heading down the shore on Thursday night, so I'm recording this on Wednesday evening. If you are listening to this on Friday and you were affected, if you were in the Mullica Hill area or up in Bucks County, I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're being helped up there, and my heart and my thoughts go out to all of those people who were affected by those tornadoes. I was petrified in my house and I wasn't anywhere near them. So I cannot imagine the fear and the just the absolute, I can't even get the words for it. Like I can't imagine what those people are going through right now. So I hope that you are, you're safe and you're recovering and you're getting back to whatever semblance of normal that you can after absolutely unprecedented amount of activity, storm activity in this area. I have never seen the words tornado emergency before. I didn't even know that existed, but turns out it does, and we got a taste of that in this area this week, and I hope everyone that was affected by that is okay. So, awkward segue to video games and esports. We're going to talk about we are in the final third of the year 2021, believe it or not. I'm recording this on September the 1st, which means we have 4 months until January. So I figure we'll take a look at the rest of 2021. 2 big events, one in September, one in December, and then we'll take a look at some big games that are coming out for the rest of the year. We will talk about the Overwatch League Play-Ins, the teams that will be playing this Sunday, September 5th. I'm sorry, Saturday, September 4th, and Sunday, September 5th, to figure out the rest of the Overwatch League 2021 playoff field. And then I do want to talk a little bit about what I did this past weekend in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. But before we do any of that, let's get right in here with the 6 in 60 seconds. Halo Infinite will see the relaunch of Halo Esports, as 9 teams have been announced to be partnered with the Halo Championship Series, including E-United, Natus Vincere, FaZe Clan, and G2 Esports. Call of Duty League sees multiple roster changes after the 2021 season has ended, including the Seattle Surge and LA Guerrillas releasing every player on their roster. Soul Calibur 6 and Tekken 7 producer Motohiro Okubo officially leaves Bandai Namco after 25 years with the company. Elsewhere, Marvel Midnight Suns, the 2K Firaxis Marvel collaboration, sees its first gameplay reveal earlier today with a 20-minute presentation showing off characters, the card system, and more. 2 of WB's most anticipated games, Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, will be shown at DC Fandome 2021 in October. And finally, a Dead Space remake livestream gives horror fans a glimpse at the upcoming remake, while confirming that Isaac's voice actor Gunnar Wright from the previous games will return to the role. Those are your 6 in 60 seconds. And as always, the 6 in 60 seconds are brought to you by our sponsor here at Cheesesteaks and Controllers, and that is Ghost Shaver. The Ghost Shaver is designed to feel like an extension of your arm, allowing users to reach anywhere on the head, face, or body. Its precision cutting system gives you a close and smooth shave every single time, with 5 different rotary flex action super thin blades and a patented handle design that fits into the palm of your hand precisely. Go to ghostshaver.com to check it out and get yours. That's Ghost Shaver, a shave above the rest. Yes, those are your 6 in 60 seconds for the week. My favorite announcement is probably the reintroduction of Halo Esports. Obviously went through a bit of a dry spell there with no Halo game to speak of since 2015, but Halo Infinite will be re-energizing that league with 9 teams already partnered. That is very, very exciting. Competitive Halo was a lot of fun. Really one of the first esports, if you go back to the days of Major League Gaming or MLG. So I am very excited to see what Halo Infinite brings to the competitive Halo table. And also a farewell to Motohiro Kubo. I loved Soul Calibur 6. I love Tekken 7. And I hope he takes some of that fighting game knowledge elsewhere. And we get more fighting games out of it, because more fighting games are good fighting games. But let's move on now to our first topic of the evening. We are going to talk about the Overwatch League Play-Ins. Play-Ins start September the 4th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time with the West region, and then a full slate of matches on Sunday the 5th, including one starring your Philadelphia Fusion, hopefully 2 starring your Philadelphia Fusion. So how do the Play-Ins work? There are 20 teams in the league, split up to 12 in the West and 8 in the East. Currently, there are 5 of the 8 playoff positions already decided. 3 top seeds in the West and the 2 top seeds in the East. Those are Dallas, Fuel, LA Gladiators, and Atlanta Reign in the West, Shanghai Dragons, Chengdu Hunters in the East. The next few seeds will play play-ins on each side to determine who will fill the final 3 positions. So the way it works is, in the Western side, the 6th and 7th seed play the 8th and 9th seed, with the 6th seed getting a choice between the 7th or 8th seed. The 7th seed then getting the other one. The Washington Justice came in at number 6, and they elected to play the Paris Eternal, seed number 8, in their play-in match. That will be Saturday the 4th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Following that will be number 7, Toronto Defiant, taking on number 9, Boston Uprising. The winner of Washington and Paris will take on San Francisco for a shot at the playoffs, while the winner of Boston and Toronto will play Houston for a shot at the playoffs. In the Western region, there are only 2 matches to speak of, both on the 5th of September, one at 5 a.m. Eastern and one at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. The 5 a.m. Eastern team are the 4th and 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. That is your Philadelphia Fusion at number 4, taking on the Hangzhou Spark at number 5. The winner takes on Seoul Dynasty, who came in at number 3 at 6:30. And the winner of Seoul and that other team will advance to the playoffs. So that is how we get to 8 teams in the bracket, and then we'll figure out how the bracket shakes out from there before long. So how do we think this is going to shake out? What do we think this bracket's going to look like when all is said and done on Monday morning, Labor Day, and we know who's playing who in Hawaii later this month? On the Western side, if I am picking this right now, the way that it has shaken out, I think the Justice's choice of the Paris Eternal will pay off, and the Washington Justice will move on to play the San Francisco Shock. And I think the Toronto Defiant will hold off the Boston Uprising, who can't decide if they want to be the best team in the league or the worst, and move on to Houston, to play Houston in the 4th match. From there, I think that the Justice will take the Shock, and the Outlaws will take the Defiant, giving you Washington and Houston moving on to the playoffs. Now, I know some people might be shocked by that Shock pick, but something about this Justice team is like an untapped potential, or some sort of, they feel like they should be there and they're not. And with the Shock even having to play this match to begin with, thanks to the LA Gladiators taking the Countdown Cup, I feel like they're in a very precarious position and could be knocked out before they even get to the top 8, guaranteeing a brand new Overwatch League champion in this 21 season for the first time since 2018, a non-San Francisco champion for the first time in 3 years. So we have the Justice and we have the Outlaws in the West. And then in the East, I do think the Fusion will handle Hangzhou Spark. They're currently mired in controversy. They dropped one of their players for making slurs, anti-Chinese slurs, I think they were, against a Chinese player. It was discovered they were doing that, so that player has been booted from the team. I think that controversy is going to get the better of them, and the Fusion should get past them no problem. It's the next match against the Seoul Dynasty that worries me. Seoul has proven tough to beat for your Fusion this year. If memory serves, the Fusion are at least 0-3, if not 0-2, if not 0-3 against the Seoul this year. One of them, they went up 2-0 and lost 3-2. And I believe the other two were pretty handily won by Seoul 3-1 and 3-1, if my memory serves me. Do I think the trend is bucked and the Fusion take the Dynasty in order to make the playoffs? Unfortunately, I have to say no. History tells me that Seoul is going to get the Fusion again and advance to the playoffs, making the three final teams, in my prediction, Washington, Houston, and the Seoul. Now that I'm reading this, however, there is a chance that I could be wrong here in that when the first play-in matches in the West are decided, so where I have the Justice and the Defiant winning their matches, the Shock actually gets a pick of the two teams. They could pick the Justice or they could pick the Defiant. If they pick the Justice, I think they'll lose. If they pick the Defiant, I think they'll win. And if we're going off of seeds, they would pick the Defiant because the Defiant was a lower seed. So it depends on who they pick there. I think Houston gets in either way. And then on the top one, it depends on who the Shock decide to play in that match. I don't think the Defiant would be able to beat them per se, but I think the Justice would have a very good shot. So there is a little bit of up in the air, like there's a little bit of instability or what's the word I'm looking for? Not hostility. That's not it. It could change. It's very mobile. It's not set in stone. It's not like a normal bracket where you have like a March Madness bracket where the 1-16 play, the winner of the 8-9, and then it just keeps going down in that regard. There are choices that can be made in these brackets that kind of affect my predictions here. But I think Houston's a lock, and unfortunately, I think the Seoul Dynasty are a lock because I just don't think the Fusion are going to be able to come over that mental hump of the Dynasty beating them as many times as they have this year. Now, the alternate storyline here is that the Fusion are so sick of the Seoul getting them all season long that they finally get their revenge and make it to the playoffs. I just don't see that happening, unfortunately, where I stand right here and right now. I would love to be wrong, but I just feel that the Seoul Dynasty have the Fusion's number. They have had the Fusion's number all year long, and I expect that to continue in these play-ins at 3-1. I will give them the 3-1 edge once again. A third 3-1 map victory for Seoul. I don't think they swept us this year. I think it was 3-2, 3-1, 3-1, and then I think 3-1 is going to happen again in these play-ins. But from there, let's go with my Justice beat Shock, Houston beat Toronto, and Seoul. So Houston, and Seoul make it into the playoffs. I believe the top three seeds will get to choose their opponents. Yes, that is correct. So if we're looking at the standings right now, based on what I predicted, the standings would be Shanghai, Dallas, Chengdu, LA, Atlanta, Seoul, Houston, and Washington. That's how this would play out if the predictions I went with come true. So Shanghai gets a chance, gets a choice of whoever they want to play from the lower four seeds. So Atlanta or the three play-in teams. And I honestly think they would, of the three teams that I picked, plus Atlanta, who's still there, I think they would take Atlanta because they know they can beat Atlanta. They've done it. They did it at the end of one of the tournaments. They know they can beat them. So I think they would take the fifth seed Atlanta, knowing that they could beat them and then hopefully move on in the tournament from there. And then that would leave Dallas with all three of the play-in teams. I think they would take Washington because I think they've beaten them every time this year. Chengdu would then get the choice between Seoul and the Houston Outlaws, and I think they would take Houston, which would leave the LA Gladiators and the Seoul Dynasty. I think of those matches, I think you have Shanghai, Dallas, Chengdu, and the Dynasty winning. And then from there, it is a double elimination bracket, so it is a little more picked from there. But if the three play-in matches play out like that, where the three teams that make it are Seoul, Houston, and Washington. I believe that your 2021 Overwatch League champion will be the Shanghai Dragons. For the first time, an Eastern team wins the entire tournament. I feel like they are in the driver's seat right now. They have not played very well in the Countdown Cup, but I think a lot of that was getting themselves prepared for these playoffs, like trying different things, playing different players they wouldn't normally play. They didn't need the points. They knew they were a shoo-in for first overall, so they kind of mailed it in the Countdown Cup, even for, if no other reason, than to not show their strategy. I think they just kind of did what they wanted to do, mailed it in, whatever, and then went from there. I do think Shanghai takes the entire season handily. I don't think they're really going to have a lot of trouble with any of these teams that are in the tournament. Dallas might give them a run for their money. Chengdao always plays them tough, but if I'm standing here right now, the number one overall seed in the Overwatch League 2021 Shanghai Dragons are your Overwatch League 2021 champions when the grand finals complete on September 25th. Check out overwatchleague.com for more information on how it works. Check out the Overwatch League this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and enjoy all of the Overwatch action that you can leading up to the playoffs on September 21st. Go Fusion, please prove me wrong. I would love to eat crow and say they made the playoffs despite my dumb opinion thinking they wouldn't. Please prove me wrong. I would be happy to accept my defeat publicly if it means the Fusion make the playoffs. All right, welcome back to Cheese Steaks and Controllers here on Fox PHL The Gambler on this Labor Day weekend. Hope you all are go and get ready and have a barbecue or do something with your family on this holiday weekend. We sure deserve it after the times that we have had recently. So go out and enjoy yourself while you can. Our second topic this evening, we're going to look ahead to the rest of the year. Obviously, with school starting, summer ending, that means we can start looking at the final third of the year 2021. And I would like to do that through the lens of the video game industry. We have 4 months of game releases. We have 2 more big events to take a look at here. And I want to get you guys prepared for everything that there is to know in those events and on that calendar between now and December 31. So let's start with the 2 big events. The first one, chronologically, is Tokyo Game Show. Tokyo Game Show is kicking off this year, I believe, in an online capacity, because Japan is still having some COVID-19 issues. September 30th to October 3rd, is the scheduled time for their convention this year. They have a bunch of online openings with a bunch of different keynotes, basically one every hour, with some exceptions, some break exceptions here at the schedule that I am looking at. The times that I am going to give you are Eastern Standard Times, but the times that you will find on websites of coverage, like for example, I am using the coverage of Game Informer and author Marcus Stewart to read down this list. They have it listed in local Japan time, so you have to convert between what that is in Japan versus what it is here. For example, 12 noon in Japan is going to be 11 p.m. here. So this is one where if you're going to follow everything as it happens, you're going to be up all night long. Which, if you can do that, power to you. I personally am not able to stay awake around the clock Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to get this news. I'll just get it as I wake up on that last week of September, first week of October. But it starts with the online opening at 9 p.m. September 29th. Actually, it's September 30th at 10 a.m. for them. And then we'll go into the full keynote, which has some games. Gamera Gate Now, Tokyo Game Show, not sure what that is. First big one on my schedule is 1 p.m. Japan time, midnight September 30th. That is the King of Fighters 15 special program by SNK. They're going to blow out the game a little bit more. Maybe we'll get some more characters, some exhibitions, maybe a little more in the mechanics, stuff like that. Very much looking forward to that. I don't know if it's allotted 3 hours, but it goes from, according to this, it goes from 1 to 4, with the next event at 4 o'clock, SK Telecom Game Show. Not sure what's going on there, but SK Telecom, or T1, is a big esports organization here So I don't know what's going to happen there. Next one on my list is 6 p.m. Japan time, which is 5 a.m. Eastern time, September the 30th, looking at Microsoft Xbox live stream. Microsoft has said that there would be some exclusive new information. I would not hold my breath. Tokyo Game Show is not one of their biggest places to be, although they are trying to really grow in the Japanese market, so maybe they'll bust out some big announcements. We'll remain to see what's going on there. The next hour, we have Konami with new information about the next Yu-Gi-Oh! Game for fans of that. 8 p.m. Japan time, so 7 a.m. Eastern time. Spike Chunsoft is doing something. They make Danganronpa and a couple other games like that. Capcom has an online presentation at 9 a.m. September 30th. That's when I'm going to have my eyes on. Maybe we'll see a little more on Luke from Street Fighter V. Maybe we'll see some more DLC upcoming for Monster Hunter or Resident Evil, or maybe some new games. That would be cool. And then the last one, 11 p.m. Japan time, 10 a.m. Eastern time, is Izanagi Games. Not sure what that is, but if you're a Japanese gaming fan, that one could be for you. October the 1st, they kick off once again at 9 p.m., 10 a.m. Japan time. Not really seeing much on this list in the beginning, but starting at 6 o'clock Japan time, which is 5 a.m. Eastern time, you have 505 upcoming titles showcase. Square Enix presents after that. Bandai Namco, Level 5, and Sega Atlas. That is a nice 5-hour block of what could be a lot of very good updates for upcoming games. I expect a lot from Square Enix Presents. They're in their home turf of Japan. That would be 6 a.m. on October the 1st. If you want to check that out, I highly recommend doing that. If you're a Square Enix fan, I think we'll get more Strangers of Paradise. I think we'll actually get some Final Fantasy 16 since they're in Tokyo, or they're in the Tokyo Game Show, I should say. That is one that I would be looking forward to as well. October the 2nd, again, not really much happening in the beginning. Tencent at 11 a.m. Eastern might be one to look at. Tencent always growing. 3 p.m. Eastern, we're looking at 3 a.m. Eastern. We're looking at Gung Ho Online. That's 11 p.m. for Tencent. I could keep getting these damn times wrong. 11 p.m. for Tencent. 3 a.m. is Gung Ho. Their games are always good. Koei Tecmo at 7 a.m., right? Koei Tecmo special program. That might be one to keep an eye on as well on October the 2nd. And then the last day, October 3rd, we have Arc System Works at midnight. We have NCSoft at 3 a.m. We have Gung Ho again. We have Ubisoft, Ubi Day 2021 special program for TGS. We have a Genshin Impact by MiHoYo at 8 a.m. on October the 3rd. And that's probably the biggest, the last of the big ones coming from Tokyo Game Show for the Western audience. Honestly, there's more of what's going of here that you may be interested in. So I would check out the schedule and see if anything really comes to mind for you. But as far as I am standing here go, I think the Genshin Impact one is the last big part of the Tokyo Game Show. So that's the first of 2 events still on the calendar that we know about. For the rest of the year, there is always the opportunity for more live streams. I expect a Nintendo Direct between now and the end of the year. There's probably going to be some more State of Play by PlayStation. So those are probably still in the pipeline. I can only talk about what's actually scheduled here and now. The next one in December is the Game Awards, the next Jeff Keighley presentation. Obviously, we don't know anything about that other than that he wants to be live in LA. And I'm starting my petition right now to be cordially invited. I don't know how I do that. I don't know how I get myself an invitation to the Jeff Keighley Game Awards, but I've been there once when it was the VGAs in 2010. I got into the press area, and that was it. It's been a dream of mine to get into that actual hall, into that actual theater, and sit amongst my brethren and watch the Game Awards live in person. Would love to do that in 2021. I'm just going to put that out in the universe and see if it happens. Jeff Keighley, if you're listening, holler at your boy. But other than that, that's going to end the year as far as big gaming announcement events are concerned. So let's turn our attention away from the announcements and from the games themselves, and to the games themselves, because there are a ton of games still coming out in this year. Starting just today on the 1st of September with a highly touted indie game called Lake on Xbox and Windows PC. Adventure game by Gamius and Whitehorn Digital. That is one I do want to check out. Chernobylite is another survival-style indie game from the Farm 51 and All In Games. That's one I have my eye on. The Artful Escape has been getting a lot of attention. An Annapurna developed music-themed game with some pretty interesting voice casting. I'll let you find that out for yourself. Very, very cool there. Life is Strange True Colors is still due on September the 10th, I believe. The next game in the Life is Strange series. Should be a very big one there. And Lost in Random as well on the 10th. And NBA 2K22. And Tales of Arise. And WarioWare Get It Together. Holy moly. A week from when you are listening to this is loaded. Wow, that's a lot of games. Life is Strange, Lost in Random, NBA 2K22, Tales of Arise, a.k.a. the John Jansen Special, and WarioWare Get It Together, followed on September 14th by Deathloop. Phew! That's quite a 4-day stretch. And then you have Eastward on the 16th, Skatebird for the indie fans. That's a bird on a skateboard. Can't get any better than that. Origami 2 should be a under-the-radar sort of indie title. Kenna Bridge of Spirits on September 21st. That's one I'm very, very much looking forward to. Pokemon Unite on your phone on the 22nd. Diablo 2 Resurrected and Sable on the 23rd. Death Stranding Director's Cut on the 24th, along with Lost Judgment. Wow, September is loaded. Lemnis Gate, New World Order. I'm sorry, not New World Order. What is this? 1996 WCW. New World, the Amazon MMORPG on the 28th. The Outer Wilds expansion, also on the 28th. Then you have Astria Ascending, which is a RPG from Dear Villagers that I think you should be paying attention to on the 30th. Hot Wheels Unleashed for the kids in your life. If you have a little kid who's a gamer, Hot Wheels Unleashed is one to keep your eye on. It has a bunch of old Hot Wheels cars, including some like famous ones, like I believe the Mystery Machine from Scooby-Doo is part of that game. And then for the fighting game fans, they're getting the next new installment in the Melty Blood series, Melty Blood Type Lumina. I might give that one a shot. Melty Blood has always been one that's been fringe, like out of my personal fighting game bubble. But I'm always willing to try a new one. So Type Lumina gets me into the series, and I go back and try Actress again and the other Melty Blood games. Sure, why not? All those games I just mentioned, September 1st to September 30th. I haven't even started in October yet. Get your wallets ready. You're going to want to burn them. October the 1st, FIFA 22. And even though I'm recording this on Wednesday night and he hasn't heard it yet, Sean Brace's ears have perked up from his house in Conshohocken. FIFA 22 on the 1st of October, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl and Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania on October the 5th. That's a good day for your families. And also Jet the Far Shore for Super Brothers. That's another indie game I'm looking forward to. And look at this. 1, 2, 3 punch. October 7th, Far Cry 6. October 8th, Metroid Dread. October 12th, Back 4 Blood. Holy moly. That is another 3 just dynamite titles back to back to back. Where am I going to find the time? Where am I going to find the money? Oh boy. Then we get a bit of a break, unless you like the Idolmaster. I'm not a fan of that, but it is coming out on October the 14th. And Demon Slayer. If you like Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba is getting its anime game from Sega on the 15th, as is NHL 22 on the 15th. Caligula Effect 2, another NIS role-playing game coming out. Battlefield 2042 on the 22nd of October, along with the Dark Pictures House of Ashes for the horror fans. Square Enix's Guardians of the Galaxy by Eidos Montreal comes out the same day as Solar Ash, October 26th. And then Age of Empires 4, Fatal Frame, Maiden of Blackwater, Riders Republic on the 28th, Mario Party Superstars on the 29th. That's October. Another stacked month of games. I think people have been... I saw a tweet earlier that said that 2021 was low on games, not a whole lot coming out. First of all, that's wrong. Secondly, have you seen the rest of the year? This is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. And that's just the first 2 months. That's September and October. Moving on to November, Just Dance 2022. Always a popular game. Call of Duty Vanguard on the 5th. Sorry, Just Dance is on the 4th. Call of Duty Vanguard on the 5th. Forza Horizon 5 and Jurassic World Evolution 2 on the 9th. Elder Scrolls Skyrim 10th Anniversary Edition on the 11th. Shin Megami Tensei 5 on the 12th for the Switch role-playing fans. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl on the 19th. Endwalker, the final expansion to Final Fantasy XIV, is the 23rd. All right, so November is a little less than the 2 months before it. Not as much going on in the month of November, but still some very heavy hitters coming in those in that November month, from Call of Duty Vanguard, Forza Horizon 5, Grand Theft Auto 5 gets its PS5 and Xbox Series X glow up. I did forget to mention that. Shin Megami Tensei 5, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl for the Pokemon fans, Final Fantasy XIV, Endwalker for the MMO fans. Just absolutely tremendous November lineup there. Not quite as numerous as September and October, but definitely up there in terms of quality. And then finally, for the rest of the year, we have Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp and Danganronpa Decadence, which is all the Danganronpa games except for the side game Ultra Despair Girl for the Switch. Dying Light 2 Stay Human and Spellforce 3 Reforced are on the 7th, and then the 8th, December 8th, probably one of the biggest launches of the year and one of the biggest launches in December video game history. Halo Infinite finally comes out. They will be missing some things. It'll be missing co-op multiplayer, so you'll be able to play competitively, but not the co-op campaign. And the Forge, where you can make your own maps, won't be there. But everything else will, which means I'll be playing single-player campaign. I'll be playing online with my friends in Halo Infinite, December 8th. Cannot wait for that. It's going to feel like old times. And then December 10th, Siberia, The World Before Siberia is a long-running adventure, point-and-click adventure PC series. This is the next installment in that. So, for those of you who may have thought that the year 2021 was lacking in games, do you still think that is the case after hearing that incredibly long, robust list of what's coming out? Now, if I had to pick one game from every one of these 4 months, it's difficult to do. It really is. December, not so much. I would go Halo Infinite, even though Dying Light 2 has been on my radar for a while, and Advance Wars 1 and 2 is great because I really want to play those games again. November's a little more difficult. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, Shin Megami Tensei 5, Forza Horizon 5. I probably would go Call of Duty Vanguard, though. I like the World War II setting. I liked the Stalingrad chapter that we saw at the opening night live at Gamescom. That was cool. So I'd probably go that, but Forza Horizon 5 will be right up there as well. October's a little tougher, because October I really want to play Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, because I'm a big Super Smash Bros. Fan. I want to check out Metroid, very, very big into Metroid, so the fact that that's coming out on the 8th, I'm very excited. I've had my calendar circled ever since that was announced back in June. Far Cry 6, I like Far Cry, but the problem with Far Cry games is I get about halfway through and then I stop playing. I never get back to it. I did it with 4. I did it with Primal. I did it with 5. I suspect that I will do it again with 6. Nothing against those games. I had fun when I was playing it. I just had to move on to other things and could not get back to it. But I think if the one I'm choosing is as excited as I am for Metroid Dread. The one that I'm choosing from October, the one that I think has the best potential, and then the potential to be the best game of October in a loaded month, is Back 4 Blood. I think if the betas that we've seen so far and the things that we've played so far for that game are any indication, that game is going to be a welcome return to the Left 4 Dead style PvE co-op zombie shooter, and I am all for it. I am all about that life. I loved playing the beta. Got a couple matches in with my friends. I love the story that they're telling. I'm very excited. I think it's a little difficult, but that's okay. I'll get used to it. Give me Back 4 Blood from October, with Metroid Dread a very close second, maybe even 1 and 1A, as to how much I'm looking forward to them. And then September, my personal choice here, and I'm probably going to upset one John Jansen, is Ken of Bridge of Spirits. I am very much looking forward to that game. Looks like a living Pixar game. The animation is wonderful. Every trailer I've seen has looked very, very good. Just very interested to see what that final product looks like as a PlayStation exclusive in a year where there aren't many. I mean, if you think about all the games that have been announced recently this year and are still to come, really, the big heavy hitter PlayStation exclusives that you think of are Final Fantasy 16, which I believe is 2022, if not 2023, God of War, which is 2022, and Horizon, which is February. 2022 going to be a huge year for the PlayStation 5. But 2021, you got Kenna, and then you've got the games that you would play. I mean, Death Stranding Director's Cut is fine, but Death Stranding already came out. This is just the Director's Cut. Is it really going to add that much more to the experience? There are some other games that are PlayStation exclusive, like Away, the survival series by Breaking Walls, and Jet the Far Shore by Super Brothers is another big one. But if we're talking like top AAA system seller type games, they don't really have that this year outside of the third party. So I think Kenna, they're going to put a lot of their eggs in Kenna and Death Stranding's basket and see what happens. So Kenna is my September pick. Back 4 Blood is my October pick. Call of Duty Vanguard is my November pick. And December pick is Halo Infinite. But, I mean, you can't go wrong with any of the games that you might be looking forward to on that list. Even if some of them come out to be disappointing, there's going to be some fun to be had in everything that I mentioned coming out between now and the end of the year. So brace your wallets, brace yourselves, block off some time, do the Extra Life Marathon if you can, just to give yourself time to play some more games, and plan your holiday gaming schedule accordingly. Yes, all right, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, presented by Fox PHL, The Gambler. We are in the final segment of episode number 63, but before I get into what I'm going to talk about this week, I did want to mention that if you're listening to this on the radio, all episodes of Cheesesteaks and Controllers can be found wherever you get podcasts. It started at the iHeartRadio app, then we moved to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and now, as of last week, Cheesesteaks and Controllers can now be found on Amazon Podcasts as part of the Amazon Music app. So if you have Amazon Music and you want to check out this podcast, not on the radio, if you can't listen to it on Saturday, if you want to listen to it in podcast form a day early on Friday or whenever you can, go to Amazon Podcasts as well as iHeartRadio app, Spotify Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, and check us out there. A download, a like, a subscribe, whatever you want to do, a share. If you want to share it with your buddies, would appreciate that as well. I like what we're building here. I like the show that we're putting on. And if you do too, I would appreciate a couple of checked boxes and ticks our way just to make this show even bigger and better as the days and weeks go on. And speaking of the show getting bigger and better, one of the ways I want to do that is by getting together with the people in the community of Philadelphia and trying to get some things going. And a big one for me happened this weekend. Big E Gaming, one of the premier fighting game tournament organizer here in the Philadelphia area, came back for the first time after COVID with a major fighting game tournament series, Summer Jam 2021 at the Crown Hill Plaza over in Cherry Hill. 9 different main tournaments going on at once, multiple streams, 2 ballrooms filled with players, all being safe. There were plenty of masks. Almost everybody in there was masked that I could see. Maybe 10 people at most didn't have a mask on. Everyone was safe. Everyone was respectful of everyone's space. There were vendors. There were arcade machines that you could play that you could wipe down as well when you were done. I want to commend them. All the precautions that could have been taken have been taken. When I was there on Saturday, there were a lot of people there in a ballroom, which is, worrisome, but everyone was doing what they were supposed to be doing out in public, wearing masks. I wore masks for sure, even though I'm vaccinated. Just wanted to make sure that I kept myself safe. I do have 2 little girls who are not vaccinated yet because they're not old enough to be. So I got to think about them and protect them. But I felt safe in there. I did. I felt like I was okay. Felt like everything would be all right. So first, I want to commend him for that. But second, I want to commend him for putting on what felt like we didn't miss a beat. It felt like the pandemic, as far as the FGC concerned, never went away. It was like a time skip, as somebody I saw had mentioned it on Twitter. It was like you would just skip through 20 months of time, and all of a sudden you were back in a familiar place where you had been with all your friends for months before. It was really, really great getting back into a Big E Gaming fighting game tournament. The main ballroom, you had your Dragon Ball Fighter Z, you had your Tekken 7, you had Soul Calibur 6, Guilty Gear Strive was the big one. Street Fighter 5 was also available in there, and then you had a bunch of side tournaments going on in the side room. You had your Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. You had Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. I saw Mortal Kombat 11. Heck, I saw Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. The classic retro games were there as well. A lot of great action going on at these tournaments. And if you've never been to a Big E event before, I'm going to paint the picture for you for a little bit. So imagine a full grand ballroom inside a hotel, in this case, the Crown Plaza in Cherry Hill. So you walk in, and there are tables. So there's two on either end of the ballroom. Let's start there. On either end of the ballroom are two staging areas. In this case, it was three. So you had the main stage in the back area, in the back corner. That was the main screen with the stage where the awards were given for all the main titles after the tournaments had played out. And on the other side, there were doors leading out, but not blocking those doors. A little ways up were two other big screens with live streams on them. One of them was playing Soul Calibur 6 for the majority of Saturday. The other was playing Tekken 7 for the majority of Saturday while I was there. So Guilty Gear Strive, Tekken 7, and Soul Calibur 6 were on the big screens. You can then walk up and down the tables where pools were happening, and I'll get into tournament structure in a minute, and watch. There were 4 stations at each table with 2 players on each one, so you could watch matches as you walk back and forth. The side ballroom had 1 streaming station that was Dragon Ball Fighter Z, and then also had rows of tables where different matches were going on. Every fighting game you could imagine was there, current fighting game at least. And if you wanted to see some top talent, go at it. This was the place to go. Nothing makes me happier, or nothing gets my energy going in a setting like that than when I'm watching one fighting game on a screen, whether it's on the big screen or in a stream or what have you, and you hear a roar from the crowd completely unrelated to the match that you're watching. So that forces you to look over and be like, oh, what's going on over there? And you see a group around a screen where a particularly tough match of Dragon Ball or Guilty Gear or whatever is going on. So then you walk over there and you see what's going on in that match. And then all of a sudden you start to hear the hype from the other side of the room. And you're like, oh man, Tekken 7's popping off. I got to go check out Tekken 7. And then you go over there and watch that. And then all of a sudden there's a big match on the stream. So everybody stops what they're doing and watches the big screen, cheering like crazy as big moves are pulled off and matches go on. It is an amazing atmosphere for fighting games. And this is not limited to just Big E either. He puts on a great show, don't get me wrong. His organization does great work with Summer Jam, April Annihilation, Winter Brawl, and Northeast Championships, which is next in November. But he also, there are other tournaments throughout the country that do similar things. Evo in 2018, when I went out to Las Vegas for that was 3 days of just pure fighting game bliss in the, I believe it was in Mandalay Bay or MGM Grand. I think it was Mandalay Bay. In their conference area, their big conference hall was where the main tournament, the main Friday and Saturday action popped off, and then they were actually in the Mandalay Bay arena where the UFC fights happen for their Sunday matches. That was absolutely out of this world, and I can't wait for Evo to come back in that capacity. Other tournaments that I haven't been to, but I would like to go to. Combo Breaker in Chicago is a big one. Final Round in Atlanta. CEO in Daytona Beach, Florida, which I believe is going off this year later than it normally does. It's usually in the summertime, like around June, July, I believe. But this year they've delayed it a little bit, and they're going to go in December for CEO. That's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind getting down there to Florida to see what Alex Jabali has cooking for his tournament this year. Wouldn't mind getting him on to talk about that this year as we get a little closer as well. So if Alex, you happen to see this, come on the show. Let's talk about CEO. Let's see what you got cooking this year in December. But yeah, they're all the same. They're all just people who love fighting games, watching fighting games, and popping off when they see crazy action going on. One of my favorite memories of EVO 2018 was during Dragon Ball FighterZ. So the character Cell, in his introduction, stands there for a second, does a little pose, and then screams the top of his lungs before, he powers up and the match starts. So the players on the screen, players that are actually playing the matches, have the option of skipping through the introductions and getting right into the match. But in this case, someone let Cell go. They let the introduction for Cell go. And when he screamed, the entire arena screamed with him. At a cacophony I have not heard outside of a wrestling match or a Flyers hockey game. So anytime anyone played Cell from then on and Cell was getting an intro, they let Cell yell happen. If you look up EVO 2018 Cell yell, you'll laugh your butt off. So they're very, very funny clips of people just screaming to Cell during his intro. Really gets the hype going. It really gives you an idea of the kind of hype that you'll see at those events, no matter where they are. But before I get off here, I do want to talk a little bit about the structure. If you were ever interested in participating in one of these tournaments, what you would expect when you would go to it. So say you want to get into Northeast Championships this November, you would go to smash.gg, which is a fantastic tournament organizing website. If you ever wanted to run a fighting game tournament of your own, good place to do that. You would sign up there. You could pay your entry fees and all that there. And then you would choose the games you want to play, pay those fees, and off you go. So it's not just like a simple bracket. It's not like the March Madness bracket where there's 68 teams, get a 64, and then it goes down to 1. It does eventually go to 1, but there are so many players in these tournaments that they have to break it up into what's called pools, which are essentially mini tournaments that feed into the main bracket at the end. For example, Guilty Gear had 312 participants, was the biggest player pool in Summer Jam 2021, if memory serves. So they had, I believe, 4 pools worth of mini tournaments, so A, B, C, and D, which then also had like A1, B1, C1, A2, B2, C2, D2, all so on and so forth, until they got to the top 8. So 4 players in the winner's side who had not lost up to that point, and 4 players on the loser's side who had lost once on that point. Because, oh, by the way, 312 participants, it's also double elimination. You get 2 chances. So the brackets get even more complicated as you go. But once the top 8 is decided, obviously they wait until Sunday, and they play the only top 8s on Sunday on the big screen, the big stage. This year, I think Sunday was Street Fighter V, Tekken 7, Guilty Gear Strive was last. I want to say Dragon Ball. There's one other one in there that I don't really remember off the top of my head. But I didn't make it to the top 8s. I didn't make it there on Sunday. But on Saturday, I felt the love again. I felt the energy again. I felt what I've been talking about ever since I started this show. Fighting games could be the top #1 premier esport in the entire world if given the chance. And all you need is to experience that energy, that feeling, that room once. And I think you'll agree with me. The fact that people are just watching fighting games and getting along and screaming and talking about what they're seeing, it's just a really cool environment to be in. And I think on a grander scale with bigger pots and bigger stars and making stars, the fighting game community, or the fighting game sector of competitive gaming, has the potential to be the largest esport in the world. But that's another discussion for another day, because we are at the end of episode 63 of Cheese, Steaks, and Controllers, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeartRadio. This is Jason Fanelli, the esports and gaming insider for Fox PHL The Gambler, your new home for all things Villanova football and basketball, starting with the football season this fall. Made that announcement on Wednesday the 1st. Very excited to see that. Villanova joins the Philadelphia Union on the Fox PHL The Gambler airwaves. Plus, they join this fantastic video game and esports show. But obviously, I'm not on the same level as them yet. But welcome Villanova Sports to the Fox PHL The Gambler family. We are happy to have you. And I look forward to listening to you on 102.5 FM whenever your games are playing. But enough about that. Next week, episode number 64 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast. I guess I kind of have to talk about that one console, huh? But we'll figure that out as we get through the week. That is episode 63 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you are hearing these words, I always appreciate you get to the end of these episodes. Please be safe. Please have a fantastic holiday weekend and a great week after it. I will talk to you next week. Goodbye.